Hello, Dr. Lu. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Jason. It's really amazing to talk to people like you are young. You want to start doing something meaningful from here forward. So you haven't gone through all the, you have like all this mistake we have made in our professional life. So very excited to share.
I've made plenty of mistakes, but yes, the whole goal of is to share our mistakes so younger generations don't have to, for sure.
Yes.
And last time we talked, you talked a lot about the toxins and about the problems with eating too much meat and stuff. But let's talk more about you today. I want to hear about your journey from China, becoming an MD, then coming to America, getting a PhD, and how you got to where you are now.
Yes, I would love to share with everyone my journey. When I grew up in China. My mother is a cardiologist. She just celebrated her 95-year birthday. She's actually the top editor for couple of the top cardiology journals. And my grandmother is a very humble Chinese medicine doctor and midwife. So she taught me very in her quiet way how human body can be very resilient and can recover, can live long without too much crisis and interventions. So of course I followed my mother's career because it was really exciting because you're rescuing people and you're in the hospital and people are dying, you save their life. So that sounded really exciting to me. But very quickly, I realized it was a very stressful life. She never really had a fulfilled relationship. She didn't have any time for herself. But in China, you can see 35 patients a day. And because they didn't have a lot of paperwork at that time. So then the reason I came here is I was trying to, for a couple of reasons. Number one, individual freedom of thinking, freedom of actions, being responsible for your own life. I think those are gifts. A lot of people didn't understand in America, they don't like to take too much responsibility. They don't really appreciate the freedom of choice and freedom of speech. These are important things. But for me, it was important. So I really want to come and I want to be a professor in research. So I was very naive. I was accepted with full scholarship, and they even paid for my flight. I only had 1 penny in my pocket. I didn't have any money. When I get to the United States, I was a part of the PhD program. I was also teaching medical students one of my favorite topic, which is actually physiology. Because I was actually getting on the top of the class in my exam. So I was actually invited to teach. So what's really important to me in that 5 years is the PhD program is you have a hypothesis, then you have to prove it. So it was really, it's very important for the brain because the brain need to take active critical thinking. And I really have to honor that 5 years of hard work because I think that gave me a special edge that I could start, really act my critical thinking, right? That's really something we don't do nowadays. We just, people like to follow trend, a bestseller book, and suddenly we are just following the trend, right?
Yep.
So after that, I went to UC San Francisco, did my studies in postdoctoral fellowship on genetics of hypertension. And that was just the first part of my life. And I was 35. I decided to go back to clinical medicine because I was very disappointed about how research was funded, how research was published, and there were a lot of bias. And there were lots of funding, right? Funding from pharmaceutical companies. So when I went back to clinical medicine, I was also very naive. I said, well, I'm going to, learn about how to solve the chronic disease issue. But very quickly, I understood that the whole medical education was sponsored by pharmaceuticals. So we're really just getting very limited data, very limited tools to help our patient. And after that, I decided to open my own practice so I can actually combine the knowledge of my research, critical thinking with clinical experience. That's when I become very, very passionate about what I do today, which is environmental cause of chronic diseases and how we can make it visible, make it, clearly in scientific terms that's causing the chronic diseases and how we can remove them through nutrition. It's really hard to remove toxins through more drugs because drugs are toxins. So it doesn't work very well, right? And so we're doing nutritional healing and learning how to help the body to be a better healer themselves. So back to you.
Well, that's amazing. That's so, you're such a hero because you just were so dedicated to getting to the root causes and actually helping your patients. And I talk to a lot of doctors and they tell me they're afraid to do what you did because how do I get out of the system? They know it doesn't work, but they just don't know how to do it. And you were naive, or maybe you were guided by spirit to just go after, and you just kept pursuing the truth, wanting to get there. And you finally did get there. And you're, a leader in the world on the root causes. So that's awesome. And, one of the things that I just heard from a friend of mine in Canada, he's a lifestyle medicine doctor, Dr. Ali. He told me 80% of doctors in Canada are in burnout. Meaning
80%, that's 80%. Much higher than here.
Yeah. Well, maybe you think it's higher than here?
It's higher than here. That is interesting because the Canadian physicians are salary based, but they are forced to see a lot of patients.
Right.
So it's the same thing in China. My gynecologist one day told me she saw 75 patients in one day. By the end of the day, she couldn't even lift her head. It was so not human. This is not human condition. If there's something wrong with your car, you have to go take the car to the mechanic. How long does the mechanic to figure out what's wrong? It's not 5 minutes, not 15 minutes. The humans are very, very complicated.
Yeah.
I'm really afraid for my patient's life, when people are in and out like a cattle. So again, I want to share with you the reason I changed, not only because I was forced to change. When I was 42, 17 years ago, I sustained head injury. I was not sleeping. I had palpitation, chronic cough, allergies, asthma, Hashimoto, chronic fatigue. I fell asleep in front of my patient. I was forced to make a different view on my own health. I was also forced financially because I was working in a clinic, which I had 5 employees, very high overhead. I spent at least 30 minutes with a patient. So financially, with the system, I was broke. I was borrowing money to run my clinic, okay? Because I was not able to do 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, a patient. And meanwhile, I was working in the hospital and a nursing home. So even though, I was making about $500,000, income, but my overhead was basically taking everything away. I was bringing home about $60,000 a year.
Wow.
After the tax, after paying the house, the car, some basic things, I was really in debt. So I want to share with people, it's not so easy. Sometimes we don't like to change, right? We don't like to change. It's nice to have a salary that is six-figure income. And we hated it. We're not doing the right thing, but we are not willing to change because the change, it seems to be so overwhelming, right? And that is why when the difficulties or discomfort from not changing is passing the difficulty of changing is when we have to change. I have no choice.
Right.
I have to change. But what the lucky thing, the very, very amazing gift, amazing blessing was actually a patient of mine who was so sick with chemical sensitivity, autoimmune disease, multiple glandular failure. She said, adrenal fatigue, hypothyroid, and she was going through menopause. She was 56 years old. When she presented with a multi-system problem, and she said, Dr. Lu, I do not want to take pharmaceuticals. You have to help me, right? And I took on, and I failed because I was trying to replace her pharmaceuticals with nutraceuticals, and it didn't work because she was sensitive. That failed patient went somebody else and presented in 2 months of 80% of healing. And she lost 16 pounds, her hair grew back, all her glandular failure recovered without hormones. And my question is, what did you do, right? I didn't wait for another day. I pick up the phone. I said, ask the physician who's a naturopath, what did you do to my patient? She only took 2 things from you, okay? And she was not sensitive to it. What are these 2 things? When I start looking, I realized the 2 things have solved 2 of the fundamental root cause of today's issue: stress and toxins. And the toxins are the 80,000 chemicals that we use as humans directly every single day. So that was 17 years ago. It is such a simple principle that most people could not believe their eyes, right? Most people will not believe today. If you go to the internet, you go to Whole Food, you will see aisles of diet and supplements.
Right.
And you will not believe if you can get rid of stress and toxins or just simply help the body to deal with them better. Your body is like turn on the key. There's a key, you turn it on. Now that's where 17 years later, just by utilizing the simple principles, right? I was able to retire. Why? Because thousands of people got better.
Wow.
And they continued the systemic detox. And now, in the past 5 years, I'm accumulating scientific data. I'm looking at urines of toxic load. I'm looking at oligoscan, which is minerals assessing, nutrients. I'm looking at the 23andMe. What I saw is a very doable program that could be simplified, and I can help physicians to do what I did, and that's really my passion. Like your first question is, what is your passion in life? My passion in life is to help my colleagues because many of them have good heart. I have functional medicine doctors quit their 6-figure income, open their little practice, and went bankrupt, went back to clinic, acute care. That is not something I want to see. I want to see my colleagues succeed, live a balanced life, go ski in the morning and do their work, have freedom in their life. Now, I'm not talking about being millionaire, becoming super rich. And you can see our environment is beautiful nature. We don't need that much. But if your monthly income is completely paid off, right? Your simple life, healthy, balanced life is paid off every month. With you or without you, that is the place to be. You have no anxiety. Everything you do is a bonus. You can give everything for free if you want. And that's where I want people to see it is possible. And I'm here, and Jason is here to help you to be where you are, where you want to be. Now, where you are is how to make the transition smoothly so you're not suffering from massive information out there that you can't even afford it. Not to mention if your patient can afford it. So anyway, back to you, Jason.
What's your advice for these? You're absolutely right. Like that people, the doctors, like they get their practice and then they lose all their money, they're in debt. What's your advice for them in this new, and now we have another factor. I mean, we know like I keep hearing from doctors they get less and less time, more paperwork, less time with the patient, but now we have the artificial intelligence, which is going to even make doctors' life even more miserable and more difficult. So what's your advice for young doctors who really want to have a great life like you and want to actually help their patients, but they don't want to be broke? They want to enjoy what you do, which is traveling, bicycle riding, great relationship, family, cooking, doing all the things you love and not having to worry about money. What's your advice for them?
My advice, the first 2 years, okay, if they're seeing patients, 15, 18 patients a day, my advice is to ask everyone if they need to have a detoxification jumpstart for this year. When I first started, I have 2 people doing the detox with me a day, and I was working 5 days a week. So you can calculate, people want to do something about the toxicity. Everybody do. I would recommend you do that. I will also put down a number. Like, okay, so how much money I would need so I can take Friday off. Okay, very simple. They need to do some calculation. You cannot rely on your office manager, your practice manager. You need to ask yourself how much you would need extra so you can take Friday off. Okay, very simple. I did that, and that saved my life. Because if you just say, how much more you have to work, people is not going to do it. You have to have a goal within 90 days, how much money you would need so you can close down your Friday. Okay, when you close it down, remember, you also don't have overhead. You also, you just take that day either resting or learning more and doing something for yourself, for your brain. That's the first step. That's what I did. I said in 90 days, I was in much worse shape than most people. I had $56,000 in credit card debt. So I calculated if I want to pay off the debt and still paying tax, don't forget that, is I need 2 years, okay? I need to make 8,000 to 10,000 extra a day. That was a number. And I achieved it in 90 days. So the second year, I was able to leave the hospitalist work. And then I was able to leave the nursing home, which pays me $2,000 a month. I was able to start to slow down the things I don't like to do. It's not like I don't like hospital. It's hospital, the way hospital runs are very inefficient. There are a lot more just wasted time. And a nursing home too, I tell my physician, it's not that I don't like conventional medicine. Conventional medicine has rescuing power. It will give you some time to rescue you, right? If you're having a heart attack, Jason, I don't want you to go see an acupuncturist, Yes, it's good, but you really can't do both. I'm telling people, we have so many physicians, they want to be a surgeon, they also want to do this and that, and they want to do some holistic things. That just doesn't work. The massive amount of information in the holistic alone, it takes your whole life to learn it, right? So I want people to focus. I'm looking for physicians who are absolutely concerned about the toxicity on our planet and the stress on people's lives. These 2 things are their passion. I will teach you how to help people and how to be less stressed and less toxic yourself. You can't teach people how to be less stressed that you're working 7 days a week and never rest and die. That we actually have holistic physicians died, from toxicity and stress themselves. They're only 60 and 70 years old. They're gone. That doesn't make sense. If you want to teach people about stress and toxins, you have to get yourself off the stress and detoxify. That's the first thing.
And the patients, when they see a doctor who is healthy and has great energy, they're going to listen more, they're going to get better results. And when when you're telling them to detoxify, when it's coming from a doctor, not some health coach, they're going to take it so much more serious. And the great thing you do is with these testing, with the Oligoscan, you test their heavy metals, their chemicals, their mold toxins, and you have your background in genetics. So with this amazing combination, which you can teach to other doctors, you have done so much research, and you now put it together in a way that's very simple for other physicians to take on. And when they see, and again, when the patients see a doctor living it, it's really like this mess, right? The doctors are unhealthy, the patients don't feel good, and it's always bad news. So, so I mean, and I know what you mean about, like, if you get into a car accident, if you have a heart attack, that's what, like, Western medicine is great for.
Shines, right.
But like if you're deficient in vitamin D or magnesium, or if you have toxins, there's no drug. Like it's just I can't believe that this is the approach. Or if you're lacking fiber or potassium, which 98% of Americans are not getting enough potassium, which you can get from eating the right plant foods, mostly.
Right.
And, no drug is going to fix that. It just doesn't make any sense. These minerals come from the earth, and they're in everything. They're in every life form, and you can't just take a drug to replace a mineral. But that's exactly the approach, right? You go there. Oh, these are my symptoms. It's amazing. So what? Yeah. What would the future look like if people would listen to you? And like, what would hospitals look like, and what would the future of medicine look like if again we have, for broken bones, for acute conditions, we have very, very skilled surgeons taking care of that. But what would the rest of doctors be doing?
Well, Jason, this is the model of hospital medicine. It actually happened in China. And that's when I was trained there. So people pay attention to their food. They know they can't be drinking too much. And they were eating mostly plant-based food. So the hospital was not that busy. When I grew up in China from age 1 to 25, we have a handful of hospitals, and people know what self-care is. They take responsibility. If they have a gallbladder pain, after eating greasy food during the holidays, they just let it lower and they go to a little Chinese herb thing to help them. They don't run to the hospital. They don't call a doctor. They don't. They know what they have done. They understand what self-care is. And China was able to afford national health care. Okay? What happened today?
They got the American model.
They got the American pharmaceutical, I can fix you all, right? So now we're seeing the drastic decrease in the health. When I was a little kid, I used to go to the park. I would see all the older people are doing Tai Chi. Everyone is healthy. And today, if you go, stroke victims, Parkinson patient, demented or elderly, they are no longer the healthy Asians, okay? It broke my heart. It broke my heart. And this type of mentality, let's look at America. America is so great. Everybody want to be like America. And what I didn't understand is they are not comparing notes and looking at what's going on in America. We eat too much greasy food, smoking, drinking every day, stress to the max, and that's becoming China. China is becoming the second America, and the government cannot afford the healthcare anymore.
So is it just the pharmaceutical? Is just that the industry is that strong? Because you would think that the insurance companies are going broke because nothing is working. They're and is it going to change, or are we just going
This is,
back to?
yeah. So what's happening is this, is the insurance company, there's a really good book. It's called Next Trillion by Paul Zimpuser. You have to read it. It's a small book. Because the question is, my patient always asks me, Dr. Lu, we're Medicare recipient. If what you're doing is so good, don't you think that will save Medicare money?
Exactly.
Good question.
People ask that all the time.
Question.
Exactly.
Good question. Paul Zimpuser said, the insurance company, because he used to work for insurance and the food industry, there seems to be a conspiracy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like why the food industry is pushing the junk food and the insurance company is only paying sickness and the drug company don't want to cure,
Right.
they want to maintain sickness. Like why these three things are just not making sense, right? Well, this is his answer. I thought it was amazing. First of all, the insurance company will find your employer said, okay, what kind of thing do you want us to pay? The employers will say, well, just pay, when he's sick, and as soon as he's, done feeling sick, we want him back to work, right? So the insurance policy is based on the fact employers today do not last more than 7 years. I mean, they don't hire the same people more than 7 years. People today do not work in the same place until they retire.
Right.
So people only work when they're young for 7 years, right? So the employer want to offer insurance. They don't care what happened after 7 years. After you're 400 pounds, they only care when you're sick. You got pneumonia, you got a skin rash, something they want to cover, but for prevention, they don't care, right?
But after those 7 years, I mean, there's Medicare, Medicaid, Medicare. How do they afford to pay it? Or they just
They can. Medicare is completely broke.
Okay.
It's $1 trillion broke. Okay, we're just sitting on the brink. I don't even know how they run it. Why do I know Medicare is broke, Jason? When I order oxygen test, when I order certain pulmonary function test, they will make you go through hell to get it. Okay, and then if you don't do it on their stupid guideline of 30 days, whatever thing, they will say, well, we can't give the patient oxygen. You have to do this whole thing again. And I start thinking, wait a minute, maybe they don't have money. Maybe they thought if I would just wear you out, you will not order this expensive thing to treat the patient, because both patients and physicians are overhead. Okay, well, they don't need us. They want to make money. So if you look at one of the movies, it's really good movie called Escape Fire. You have to watch it.
Okay.
Escape Fire is one great movie. Explain how the system is run, right? And doctors are getting cut. Yeah. If you see 30 patients, we'll give you $50 per patient. The same mentality in other industry, just speed up.
Right.
So doctors are being treated as overhead. Patients are not getting their care because nobody want to pay for it. And when I tell my patients that, they're like, why this drug, if you just go to Mexico, is so much cheaper, right? Why it's so much more expensive here? There's so much, there's just so much corruption in the system that people are so naive. And then when I get out of the system, I ask a patient, look, I'm looking at your root cause. When you get rid of the root cause, you live healthier, so you can spend your very precious life enjoying it, not running between the doctors. Wouldn't that be nice? So, but people, the system, they need to see the problem, and otherwise they are, nobody enjoy spending money and time being sick. And unfortunately, it's up to us You know, that's really the problem. It's like why the insurance doesn't pay for it. You know what? If you have a car, Jason, if you have a car, you pay insurance every month, right? You take care of the car. You don't just ruin the car and want the insurance to pay for it.
Right.
You take care of the car. You put the gas, you change oil and filter. Such a simple thing.
Right.
The car is yours. Your body is yours. You need to take care of it.
People take better
nobody's
care of
going
their,
to pay for it.
People take better care of their car than they do their bodies. It's amazing. So is it, so again, going back to the physicians, like these are really the heroes of society. You know better than anybody how intense medical school is and how hard it is to train these doctors, especially the women. They start off with such good intentions. They're caretakers. Then they get into the system and they don't know what to do. Is it possible to live, to transition, to be like you?
That's how I did it.
Right. And they can learn from you. They can learn from you, and it's teachable, and they're not going to like lose their license. They're not going to like all their fears, like, right. Like that the system is very scary.
Well, first of all, if the license is more important than their life, and if they're helping their patients, you probably should not call me, right? You have to, your life is not just a money-making machine.
Right.
Your life purpose is not to have a license for the rest of your life. Okay? I just want you to know that.
That's right.
Now in modern medicine, I get, this is the thing. I get sued, maybe a very close lawsuit one time. And when I do nutrition detox, not one time, not once. The one time is I was giving a medication that has a potential side effect, a rare side effect, okay? And I even told the patient that medication has these side effects, okay? When the side effect happened, the patient, didn't die, but she had the side effect. So she actually told me that she's going to sue me, right? And then what happened is she actually went around and the lawyer said, well, there's written on your prescription, these are the side effects. And Dr. Lu told you you have the side effect. And when you have the side effect, you're supposed to call Dr. Lu, and she called you, you never called her back. So that was one thing I told people. Nutrition do not kill you. You cannot, well, first of all, my nutritional program does not overdose you on nutrition anyway. It's based on whole food, plant-based, and some key nutrients. So you really have very little liability. That's another thing with physicians. They're prescribing something, they're operating on people, potentially can snip artery and kill somebody. They're doing very invasive, and they're okay with it. Why is that? That's called the standard of care. Standard of care is not good medicine. Now people say standard of care, it has to be good, right? Then you go to the hospital, you see your patient, the standard of care right now is really, really shitty. It's shitty for everyone. It's not just shitty for the physicians, it's shitty for everyone. When I was a doctor, I was giving people painkillers every month. I feel demoralized. Some people become addicted. I have to challenge them.
Oh, it's such a problem now.
And people don't understand that. They feel, I need this drug so I can be less pain. They don't understand. The physicians don't really like to give drug, but because we were not told anything else, we're like a drug dealer. We're like a drug pusher, okay? So when I started doing this is a good story. When I started doing integrative medicine, nutrition, I was so happy. I saw one of my patients. She was a mountain climber. She had lots of arthritis. She left me, right, when I was practicing conventional medicine. Then she saw me doing the right one. She loved it. She said, I'm so glad you're doing this. And Dr. Lu, do you know why I left you? Because I saw all you do is pushing drug. I have a heartburn, take a Prevacid. I have asthma, take the inhaler. I have a rash, take the cortisone. And that's all you do. And I came to you because you're Asian, you
Mhm.
seem to be really smart, you have a PhD, and why you're doing these things, you know, that's why she left me. So it's really important to understand not all of your patient love you because you give them drug, okay? When I started looking great, because I sleep like a baby, my symptoms are gone, my toxins are going away in 30 days, and everybody wanted. I would say 80% of the patient said, Dr. Lu, we want to do the same too. And I was like, I'm just trying it. If you're trying it, I want to try it. You have to walk your talk. You can't just tell people to eat healthy and exercise, and you don't eat healthy and exercise.
Right.
Nobody will listen to you.
So
Nobody.
True. So simple.
How to do it.
You know, that's an awesome story. One thing that's promising that I heard, what's his name? Dr. Dr. Tache, she told me this story that cardiologist who works with Bill Clinton, I can't remember his name. He did the study that showed that the whole food plant-based diet plus, basically lifestyle medicine reversed.
Yes.
What's his name? Not Dr. Esselstyn.
Sanjay. Is it Indian doctor?
No, he's got like curly hair. I can't think of his name, but it's on the tip of my tongue. But his protocol is now being insurance is now.
Oh, Dean Arnish.
Arnish.
Dean
Yes.
Arnish. Yes.
That's really amazing. So a doctor can put someone on that, and the insurance will cover what, the food or the education of it. How does that work? Or they could take.
So Dean Arnish has a program to reverse heart failure, reverse some of the unsurgically operated coronary artery disease, and so it's actually a program. You live there, and they make you the food.
Oh, wow!
And that is covered by Medicare.
That's amazing. And how does someone can they just tell their doctor they want to do that, and then they can get?
They have to reach certain degree of sickness. They have to have certain heart failure. And I think if you just Google Dean Arnish, they do have a facility in San Francisco. I think they have one in Los Angeles. It's a slow going because they have to make sure the big hospitals make money from surgeries and stuff. Our country is just follow the money. Just follow the money.
That's the problem with this capitalism.
Yeah, that's really the problem.
Corrupt capitalism we have. I think the good news is it's getting so bad everywhere, not just in medicine, in every single aspect of life, in education, right? Banking is now collapsing. So I think a lot of people are gonna be. I think we're entering an exciting time for us.
Yes.
And I heard that the mayor of New York also is incentivizing whole food plant-based. Oh, I was just going to say with Ornish, his program doesn't even include the detoxification, and he's still getting great results.
Absolutely.
So you combine the nutrition and the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine with your protocol, which very few, even lifestyle medicine doctors, know about what you're doing. Right. I mean, it's just, and again, what I love the most is that everything that you do, the best doctor in the world is the one who has someone's body heal it, like do its own work. Our bodies are amazing. And part of, if you want to go even deeper into this pharmaceutical model, is they've convinced us that our bodies, our genetics, like you said yesterday, right? Genetics is a small part of the problem. But what did I hear growing up every day from my mother? Everything's genetic. Like it's, and I always use the example, like you get 2 cars, the same exact car out of the factory. One of them, you never change the oil and you just bang it around. The other one, you take good care of it and you expect them to live. It's the same thing with the body. Like they just think it's all genetic. It's just like, you're going to get Alzheimer's at this age. You're going to get cancer because of this gene.
Yeah. It's no longer true, Jason. Like 20-30 years ago, genes do play quite a role, but with the environmental toxins, what they are challenging is your genetic. Some people cannot detoxify very well. So, they have to really diligently looking at their, we call the how do you say, those people, they're sensitive, you know,
Mhm.
those, unfortunately, 30%. 30% Americans has methylation issue that they rely on the microbiome to help their brain and help to absorb nutrients. You know, 30% methylation issue. It's not a small population. So again, when glyphosate and herbicides and insecticides are killing our microbiome, and we're eating horrible food and not feeding, you know, the healthy microbes, we're definitely not doing very well. And this is not even, you know, this is actually, it's our environment is challenging our genome. You know, I think human beings have been pretty blessed for all these years with these kind of, you know, lots of things we do to ourselves. And we're actually pretty amazing. We're still here.
Yeah.
But with the infertility, with the birth defect, 26% of children now have developmental neurogenic developmental delays. 26%.
Wow.
We're not looking very good as a species. And in a way, I'm really humble to understand we can do our best. But if humans continue to do this, we're not going to be needed. We're going to be spitted out. So, which is fine with me. I just feel we are at the place that we are facing some of the most toxic time in human history. Also most stressful. If you talk to Jane Poole, Newcom CEO, he talked about in the past 3 years, our brain have exhausted everything. We're overeating, we're on the computer, being stimulated all the time. We have tried everything to deal with the stress. The brain is old, is out of date. So we really need to see that the most toxic, most stressful time in human history, and that is a force that you neither evolve or you need to go. It's just the way it is. And I'm not saying the strong one will survive, you know, the weak one will go away. It's the one that awake. We are awakened. We understand this is a time to either upgrade or slowly go away. And that's really, really the truth. And I feel very, very passionate about teaching people the choice, because choice is what God give us. You know, God didn't tell us do this, and then, you know, God give us free choice. That's the biggest gift God gives us. So we need to either make a right choice or the wrong choice. And right now we don't have a lot of time for bad choices. So anyway, that's just how I see it.
I think, and this has been an awesome conversation. So many people are going to really benefit from this, but I think what where we're at right now is, you know, we have to work together. We need community. That's a huge part. And if we create a community of people who are healthy, while more and more people are getting sick, and we grow, like you have helped so many people, thousands of people, but now if you can help 100 physicians, if we can help 100 physicians, and those physicians can help thousands of people, people are going to notice, like, what's going on? Why are these people resilient when the next outbreak happens? You know, because we know with animal agriculture, like the way the factory farming is, it's inevitable we're going to have more problems. So
I totally see that.
And yet we're so the beautiful thing about the universe, you know, from my Buddhist background, is that whenever there's a problem, the solution is always right there. So we've been given the solution, and I think the good news is I'm a little bit more optimistic, maybe, because I think that we are enough people will catch on to this at the right time. And yes, there probably will be some tragic, you know, losses, but at the same time, I think it's sometimes a crisis, right? The Chinese word for crisis is also opportunity.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And thank you, Jason, for your vision, because what you were talking about is about the tipping point.
Tipping point, yes.
Tipping point does not need everybody to be involved. We just need 10% of the population to become aware. So I think we're getting there.
That's our mission.
Whole food plant-based diet is really getting there.
Oh, really? Yeah, absolutely. And the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, or the lifestyle medicine, is just I really think that's the key. And environmental medicine, we need to introduce that into there.
Practice.
Hopefully you'll come to the conference in Colorado, maybe. I'll see you there. In October.
There is AAEM conference. I may go. I used to be their speaker. I will reach out. I actually did quite a few recording with them on the AAEM online website. You will see me. I was talking about glyphosate. Yes.
Nice, nice. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Lu. This has been amazing.
It's very, very exciting. And I love to meet you in Florida. I also want to share with everyone, we're doing 3-day, 4-day retreats for physicians. We're going to encourage them to get their own labs. And I will personally go through their issues. And then the second day, we're going to provide all the scientific studies. The third day, we're going to teach about cases, if they can bring some of their difficult cases. And the fourth day is what we're going to talk about the practice of environmental medicine. How can you reduce stress? How can you take Friday off? How can you move forward? So thank you for
beautiful. And they'll be eating great food the whole time and learning how
we'll have yoga.
Yeah.
Bicycle or running if you're more aerobic. We're going to have a financial wellness life coach. And to teach people about why you have a block about your own well-being, you know?
That's something that's amazing. That's another sickness we have, is this relationship with money. And that's another thing that we didn't talk about, but maybe we could have Jackie on. The three of us can talk.
Yes, and Jason will teach people how to make simple, delicious food, even you have no time.
You know, right? I tell people this. Everyone tells me this. Like, they eat my food. They're like, this is the most delicious food I've never felt. Like, they eat it one time. They say, I never felt so good. And then I say, okay, I have I made it as simple as possible. It's 8 videos. And you will learn to make all of this food, not just for one time, but you'll have the food for the whole week. You can make it for your whole family. And they're just like, I know, I'm just lazy. I'm like, you're not lazy. When you wanted to drive, you learned how to drive. You did everything you needed to get your license. And now you drive for 40 years, 50 years, and it's part of your life. Same thing with making food. You just have to make the decision. You have to see the value. Once you learn the skills, and you could learn everything, the majority of what I do in 30 days. Once you have that, and I always tell like single men, single women, if you learn how to cook, home cooked food, making fermented foods and stuff like that, like the opposite sex, people you're trying to date will be so, it's very attractive.
Happy.
Yeah.
It's very, very attractive.
Women always tell me, I love a man who can cook. They always tell me that.
Yeah, and a man that's interested in health, you know, I think that's another thing. Like most of them are like, you know, go out and have a burger and drink beer. That's, you know, that's really not very attractive anymore.
I know.
Especially it's a beer belly and man boobs. So, and I'm so sorry. I don't want to, you know, picture that. It's not very pretty. It's not very pretty. No. So, beer belly and man boobs from the glyphosate in the beer.
And it's so funny, not to keep, but they blame like the soy and the plant foods. Meanwhile, they're eating cheese and animals full of estrogen, full of glyphosate, full of plastics, all endocrine disruptors, which lower testosterone, and they just blaming the actual things that are
soy. I know.
Well, I was guilty of that, and you showed me that, so I'm forever grateful.
Oh, thank you. It's always fun to talk to you, Jason.
All right. Well, we'll do this again soon, and have a great rest of your evening over there. Enjoy the snow.
Right? I will. We're going skiing tomorrow again. Thank you.
Nice. All right.